T.J. Hooker returns next week at this time. Now a special presentation.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. Welcome back, everybody. Time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Sutras here. Once again, we go live to Pittsburgh, where everyone is anticipating the weekend of Comics Pro going on there. So there's a lot of creators down there, a lot of publishers down there. But, man, I feel like I'm keeping people from, the after-hour fun of a convention. And you got to waste an hour talking to me. Jeez, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to Pornsaak Picheteshote and Jesse Lonergan. It's Lonergan. Am I saying it right, Jesse?
Yeah, Lonergan.
Lonergan. Okay. And there's an R in there, right?
There's a R in there.
All right.
My new one comes out every now and then.
I remember because I remember the fine novel Studs Lonergan back in the day with no R. But no, great to meet you, Jesse. Pornsaak, always happy to have you back. And very excited to talk to you guys about your Boom book, and I've got a couple covers here, and there we go. Boom, Man's Best.
Yes,
excellent. Yeah. Pets in Space.
Yeah, it's all you really need. It's all you really need. It's Homeward Bound in Space. So yeah, it's about these three emotional support animals that they live in this spacecraft. It crashes on an alien planet. Their humans get taken, and now they have to kind of go save them. And it's they're dressed up in all this like pet mech because their owner has all this resources and is a genius, and so decided it'd be fun to put them up in mech costumes. And now they seem to think that their job is to rescue them from all this sort of danger. And yeah, and it's kind of about sort of where those things that we look to for hope go when they sort of need hope. And it was a book to me about just sort of a way of looking at friendship in these very sort of divisive, very fractious times, and that's what the book's about. And it's most importantly, it's got amazing Jesse Lonergan art. It's got amazing, and that's the real reason to buy the book.
Outstanding, Jesse. How'd you get involved in this?
It was actually Eric Harburn, our editor, reached out to me, and Pornsaak had already pitched the book, and he thought I'd be a good fit. I feel like people might have ideas of sort of like the art I do, but then there's the art that I make on Instagram and stuff that people see, like these weird animals and bizarre sort of stuff. And I think Eric just saw that and thought it would be a good fit. And so we started talking from there.
Yeah, it was kind of brilliant on Eric's part because I'm very proud of the fact that I had this well documented my love for Jesse's work. But like the second I saw Hydra, I was obsessed by it and like talked about it on Instagram. But if you look at Jesse's comics, it's all like it's a lot of sci-fi stuff. There's some Hellboy in there, but they're mostly sci-fi stuff up until that point. And but meanwhile, he on his Instagram there's all these like cute little creatures, and Eric was like, he's never done cute creatures in his sci-fi stuff. This could be the perfect time for him to do that. So it was inspired.
That's amazing. We're already getting comments. Synchro Shadow Advanced. All right, I gotta do the eye chart before I say somebody's name. Hi, John, Pornsaak, and Jesse. Happy you could all do this. Absolutely love the Good Asian. Amen. And have recommended it to my students, friends, and fellow teachers. That's great.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Part of the great thing about being a comics pro is like meeting retailers and just to get feedback on sort of like what works for them and what doesn't. So it's always great to hear when things are actually resonating.
And I would imagine, I mean, God, I know Tony Fleece is there at Comics Pro, and Stray Dogs, I believe, was the his pet book.
Yep, straight up with his pet book. Feral's coming out like a week after our. There's this really cool like exploitation renaissance that's happening right now, where it's just like, you know, you got Tom King and Peter Grosz, who are also friends, and me and Peter go way back, doing Animal Pound at Boom. You know, me and Jesse are doing Man's Best at Boom. Then a week later, like Tony and Trish are doing Feral. Meanwhile, you got the Marvel comics like Marvel's Meow and like Alligator Loki and like It's Jeff. So like, there's a lot of pets in comics right now for the first time in a really long time.
And also, like here at Comics Pro, we're talking to all these retailers, and retailers talking about like people who come in and they basically have like a sub for animals.
Yeah.
Like this person, if it's an animal, they buy it.
Yeah.
Like which I had no idea. Like that was the thing. Like,
yeah. And they've been breaking down. It's like, no, it's like we have like people who love Batman. We have people who love Wolverine. We have people who love animals in their comics. I'm like, oh, that's fascinating.
No, I think that's great. And it's so good to hear that retailers are willing to take a chance. Because, God, I mean, the few times I've gone to Comics Pro over the years, you'd meet retailers where it's like, yeah, I only sell Marvel. That's all I sell is Marvel. And it's like, okay, well, you know your reader base, so whatever works for you. But it is great that there are still retailers that are willing to take a chance on offbeat subjects.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just the people that are coming up to a Boom table, and that's a little bit of self-selection that's happening there. But we talked to a lot, and the other thing that was really heartening was that, like, you know, like a good, I would say over 50%, 60%, like I make a point of it because I'm really curious of asking retailers like how their stores are doing. And a good 60%, I think, yeah, no, it's going great. Like things are really good right now, you know, which has been really heartening. And even the, you know, we've got some people like, yeah, it's a little soft, but then again, it's January, February, that's gonna be the thing. But yeah, no, it's been really heartening to sort of see both the response and then the help so many like the shops.
Yeah, I feel like online, I've seen online leads negative.
Yeah,
it's just like I feel like I've seen a lot of negative stuff, and it's just really great to hear more positive.
Yeah, straight from the retailers too. It's really great to hear straight from the retailers where they're just like, no, things are actually great by me.
You're right, and you will get a false reading if all you're reading is social media. And God, I know from my own encounters with a lot of the local comic retailers here in Chicago, it's like, yeah, guess what? Like more than half of my customer base, they don't go online. They don't do that stuff. And that's great. I mean, again, because then they're not affected by the negativity and stuff. You know, God, it's so funny. My one, and Pornsaak might remember this, but my one, I wouldn't call myself a troll. But if there's one IP, I know, and that's already, it's like, it comes
exactly.
I don't think I'm a racist. However,
the next person.
But where I am hypercritical is new Star Trek.
Oh,
and I have to admit, it does disappoint me. And
like Strange New Worlds.
You know, the first season of Strange New Worlds I thought was great.
Okay,
the second season was a little too gimmicky for me. The music, I mean, Buffy waited till season 6, and this is in still the 20 episodes a season era.
Right.
Like, all right, we've had 100 episodes. We're gonna sing this time. Whereas, hey, look, it's Strange New Worlds, and we're singing, and it's like that's not why I'm here. You know, I got to be honest. I hate to shit in the punch bowl. But it's like not why I'm here. So there are people that will comment and go, you know, the reason why I like Word Balloon is you're such a positive show, and you know, and when you talk about not liking new Star Trek, it's that ridiculous. And you guys are younger than me, and forgive the generality, or generalization, but it seems to me that a lot of younger people, if you disagree, then they really take it personally and they're like, well, then you must hate me. And it's like, hey, if you like new Star Trek, that's awesome. And so I'll try and talk them off the ledge and go, no. I'm not saying don't watch it. It's just not for me. And then the other one is, well, then don't watch it. And I'm like, no, you guys don't understand. I'm like the way other people are with Star Wars, I'm like, I've literally been watching Star Trek like 95% of my life, like since 5. And I'm 59. So it's like, you know, I'm like grandma. These are my stories. Don't fuck with my stories. You know? So
I feel there's just a sort of a difference with like also like face-to-face interaction. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like I like Strange New Worlds. You don't like, all right, well, let's talk about something else.
Yeah,
Like we're
exactly.
standing next to each other. Like let's talk about the original series. You know, like
Well, back to Man's Best. And Jesse, I won't open the can of Star Trek because otherwise we're going to spend the next 50 minutes talking about Star Trek. But and I honestly, one last comment. I think Anthony Mount is so amazing as Christopher Pike, and I love Rebecca Romaine, and I like Ethan Peck. I just wish they didn't make Spock a freshman in high school coming to a new school, and it's like, this is my first time with humans, and I'm like, what about Starfleet Academy? Weren't you like meeting a lot of humans in San Francisco or whatever? Anyway, back to First Man. I am curious. Jesse, please.
I also feel with this show with Rebecca Romaine, it's like, oh, she's finally getting an opportunity. Like I just feel like she's just been this face in the past, and it's like, no, she's good. Like she's really giving a good performance, and it's just it's like a discovery of someone who you've known since you were like for 20 years, you know, and that's another thing.
Oh no, and bringing it back to comics, 2.5 Men, the woman that played Candy, one of John Pryor's girlfriend, and she was like, right, and she's this ditzy hottie on 2.5 Men, and she is fantastic as Elastigirl, and it's like, wow, I did not see that kind of acting when she's in a push-up bra and just being a hot girl, and it's that's awesome. And I got to meet Rebecca Romaine last summer, and I basically told her the same thing, Jesse, where it's like, it is so great that hey man, I loved her as Mystique, I love Femme Fatale, I've loved all her work, but it's like you said, it's like it is so great for you to just be in regular clothes and just be fantastic. I hear you.
Yeah.
So that's funny. Here, Synchro had another comment. So sad Doom Patrol ended. That show was incredible. I agree. Absolutely. But back to Man's Best. I was going to say First Man. Man's Best. I'm a NASA nerd. And I wonder, in writing this, because obviously you really are talking about service animals and stuff. But I think back to the space program when it and the chimpanzee, and I forget the name of the other one. But so did you look at any of that stuff when conceiving this?
I did. I looked at I think Cosmo was the name of the dog, right? And I can't remember what the name of the chimpanzee was. I did some cursory looking at that. But I think for me, a lot of the more the touchstones was just like classic sci-fi. Like I was going back to Ray Bradbury, The Martian Chronicles, Asimov's Foundation, Clark's 2001, and really get back to one of the things for me, I'm primarily a horror writer, and the way I write horror is the unfamiliar. You try to make the audience feel as unfamiliar with everything as possible, and there's a perspective on that part of what that means is that the bigger the world gets, the more scared we feel, kind of thing, and that it's a call for caution. And I was feeling, I'm not nostalgic was the wrong word, but I was just missing that time where like a big world kind of was a call for adventure. And I wanted to get back to that sense of adventure, that sense of joy, that sense of weirdness that wasn't harmful, but at the same time without losing the stakes involved. The fact that the unknown is kind of scary. And a lot of that was what I was trying to get infused into this book. This fact that things are much bigger and much wilder than our cast of characters would think and appear. But at the same time that and while not taking away any of the emotional stakes behind that, and the fact that these things can be scary and that there is, actual peril involved, but that it still could be a place for wonder and excitement and joy and all those things. And that's, for me, where it came from. So when it started with a lot of that, honestly, it was more like, if I was looking at any pets in space, I was looking at more like Scott Bakula's dog in Enterprise. I'm just like, oh, he had a dog, he had a golden retriever on the Enterprise. Like, what was that golden retriever's life like? And so it's more of that than anything.
I liked Enterprise, and I liked Porthos on Enterprise. I thought that was pretty cool. So, Jesse, this is a good opportunity for world building and alien building.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like this, the way the story works, it just sort of like is this constant sort of movement. Like it feels like there's no repeated sets or anything like that. So it's just like, okay, we're in a new environment and like a new environment, and so it's sort of like creatively, I feel like it pushes me because I have to, like, okay, I did this, and because of my like obsessive like media way of thinking about things, it's like, okay, like I did this with this like design layout to represent this world and this color palette, like, so now this world needs to go like further, and then it's like, okay, and now another world, and now another world, and so it's like this sort of like constant like pushing to find like a new way of sort of showing a world, in addition to like just having like, okay, the trees look different here. It's like, no, the dynamics of this world, like in a visual sense, is different. So it's been like definitely like a challenge on that level, like where like other things I've done, it's like, well, this is what the world looks like, and then the entire thing is like, it looks like that. While this one, it's like, well, this is what the world looked like inside the spaceship. This is like the first place they go on the alien planet, but this is the next place. Like, and it's sort of this constantly evolving visual aesthetic.
Yeah, one of the great things, as a fan of Jesse's work, one of the great things I love about the book is that in the first issue, you only get a peek on sort of what the book is going to look like. And in every issue, the book expands to have Jesse do different types of like, every new location, Jesse's told me he's had a different like reference artist for style-wise and all that kind of stuff. So like I'm a Jesse Lonergan fan, so I want to see Jesse draw as much as possible. And so a lot of it is just like, okay, I want to see Jesse draw this. I want to see Jesse draw this. I want to see Jesse draw that. So yeah, so we get to do all of that in the book, which is fun.
Who are some of your art guys, Jesse, that you look towards?
I mean, I feel I steal from everybody, but like sort of like thinking about like how the different world works, like the very like the very beginning of like issue 1, it's sort of looking at like Tezuka and sort of like this kind of like nice friendly robot sort of thing, and then like as it moves into the second half of the issue, like we see more robots, but they get darker and weirder, and it's moving. To me, it's like moving more like Blade Runner, where it's like kind of can't tell really what's going on. It's more mysterious. But then in like certain sections, it will feel like it's a little bit more like Asterix, like
great.
Erderzo, and then like I say this and I feel like everyone's gonna look at it and just be like, yeah, it looks like Jesse drew it. But like for me, I have this feeling, and then like there was this sort of like emotional section in issue 4 that I feel like this is like more Paul Pope-ish, where it's like Paul Pope is one of those fantastic, amazing artists, but like to some extent, I feel like for me, what like draws me to it is just like the quality of the line, and it's like this very like emotional line. There's so much feeling in it, and it's like this is a sequence where like that is the driving force. And so like it's like, okay, this sequence is a Paul Pope sequence, like filtered through me, who is not as skilled as he is, and also like has my own idiosyncrasies, but sort of like drawing on those different things and sort of using that sort of different way, like if you say Asterix and you say like Paul Pope, like they're different worlds, and sort of trying to use that design like way of thinking about a page to sort of convey different worlds within a universe. So it's kind of all over the place. I feel I feel like I actually don't have taste. It's just like, yeah, I'm like Dragon Ball, Jim Lee, like Paul Pope. It's all good to me. Chris Ware, like I'm like it just all comes in.
part of the fun of like doing these interviews with Jesse is has been the process of me being like, oh, we read all the same comics, like from being a kid till now, like even down to the manga.
He's read way more comics.
I don't know about that,
He
man.
has 75 long boxes of comics.
But the whole point is I haven't read them.
he has storage facilities of comics.
I don't have storage facilities of comics. I have a storage unit that has a lot of furniture and comics.
I think he read way more comics.
I'm impressed though that like I read Fist of the North Star growing up through in high school, and I did not know. I don't know many Americans who've read Fist of the North Star.
True.
Now it's gotten a
I guess so.
push.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like all the manga that like we're about the same age.
Yeah.
We're about 45.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
Like the manga that was like you heard about but couldn't get
Yeah.
in high school. It's like you can get it now.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
You know,
That's
like,
true.
so
Absolutely.
you can get like those nice hardcovers of Fist of the North Star. And stuff.
You know, it's funny mentioning manga and anime. I have a good buddy who doesn't read comics but is all over anime. And I had never known. I remember in the 80s going to my local shop and Crying Freeman was on this. I never read it, but he got the anime. And literally just a couple, and I never even knew there was an anime from the 80s. And it's great because it's very violent, it's very R-rated, it's very sexual, but it's terrific. And it really it's great.
I know Crying Freeman through the manga, so I'll be honest. Until you mentioned, I didn't know there was an anime. I'm very curious to check it out.
You can find episodes on YouTube, Pornsaak. You can find it there.
Right.
So yeah, it's crazy. But no, I can appreciate that. Are the animals, and I'm gonna put them back up again. You'll forgive me, guys. This is the only visual I have for Man's Best. But are they sentient? Like, are they? Are beyond? Are they?
Totally. So to me, it's a Secret Life of Pets rules. It's like they can talk to themselves. Humans doesn't understand what they're saying, but yeah, but otherwise they're sentient. They communicate to themselves and they have thought captions and all that kind of stuff.
That's cool. Tell me about the characters. We'll put the visual up again. Tell me about the three main characters here.
So we've got. Thank you for asking because this. I always forget to talk about this part. So we have Athos, who is our ragdoll cat, who's in sort of his own like exoskeleton armor, and he is kind of tasked to be the leader of the group, and he doesn't understand why because he's just a cat, and he doesn't seem good at any of this sort of stuff. So he's a little bit neurotic, and like the ragdoll, a lot of these pets are based off like pets, my friend's pets, and so my friend's ragdoll is a neurotic cat. I think he takes it from his owner, and who's very neurotic. And so he's just the neurotic of just like, why am I in charge? I don't think I should be in charge. One of these dogs should be in charge. And then there's Athos, who's his best friend, and Athos is a golden retriever. She's all enthusiasm. Porthos. Thank you. Too much.
Athos is the cat.
Yes.
Porthos.
Athos is the cat. Thank you. Porthos is a golden retriever. She's all energy and excitement, and only has 3 legs. So her master gave her owner built her a bionic leg, and she because she gets in, she looks before she leaps. She can also generate force fields to like sort of protect her from harm. And then there's Lovey, our grumpy French bulldog, who's grumpy all the time and doesn't feel like he gets the respect that he deserves, and he is strapped with a rocket pack on his back because otherwise he's too lazy, would never go anywhere without that rocket pack. And those are our three characters, and it's kind of the book kind of follows Athos as he tries to lead his 2 best friends, who they are very different, and that was fine when they were in the lap of luxury in the ship, where they're safe in the ship. But now that they are out in danger and all the stakes are heightened, then he's wondering if he's the right person to keep them in line, and he still doesn't know if he has what it takes, or even if he has enough in common with this very big dog and this very small dog. And I think as they go through this, these 3 will kind of realize how very different all 3 of them are, and part of their adventure kind of makes them question: can they keep their friendship? Can they stick together during all this to help the people that they love? That's cool.
What was I going to ask? Jesse, again, I don't want you to spoil, but what can you tell us about the aliens without revealing too much? And if you can't, just say you gotta read it, because they should be a mystery, obviously. But
the aliens take a lot of different forms. I think is probably the only thing. Like what you'll see in like sort of the first issue is not what you'll see in the second issue, and then it's not what you'll see in the third issue. I don't feel like I can reveal it, but like the third issue goes nuts. Like they, we're at Comics Pro and we had to give a presentation and they showed the cover for the third issue. I was like, yeah, this third issue goes insane. Like, it gets full on surreal. And so the aliens, like, they really take on like that, to me, that sort of intimidating form of like, there's all these forces of antagonism. And the shape is constantly changing. It's not all humanoids. It's not all any one thing. It's like at this moment, it's just constantly moving, which I think is sort of, I don't know, sort of more realistic. Yeah. It's like your antagonists in life, like they don't stay in one place. It moves from moment to moment. And so I don't think I can talk about them like individually, but like they're just constantly changing.
Well, and again, as a fan of like Jesse, one of the cool things I enjoy about the book is the fact that just when you think you know what the book is, the book gets bigger. And part of the book getting bigger means giving Jesse more different types of things to draw, and the book getting crazier and crazier. And as a fan of Jesse's, I like watching him draw all that stuff.
That sounds great. 5 issues, 6 issues for the first arc? Okay. Is this a finite series period, or do you see potential?
One of the things I find for all my work is I start saying it's a finite series, and by the time I get to the end, I'm like, maybe I could do more. Maybe I could see situations in which more could happen. So yeah, so it all depends. It all depends.
I understand. Well, and again, you think of classic sci-fi tropes of deep space mission hopping from planet to planet. So who's to say what might be encountered next? Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So Jesse, give me a bit more of your background, because certainly I know Pornsaak from The Good Asian and his years editing Vertigo and stuff. But tell me more about you.
I mean, I don't think anyone knew who I was before 2020. And I did this book called Hydra that Image published. It was a wordless sci-fi space exploration comic. I've been told by like other creators that it's like this total anomaly of like, it's like an Image one shot. It's oversized. It has 0 words, and it got nominated for an Eisner. So like, and I feel that's where sort of people heard of me, and I sort of feel like since then people have sort of wanted to work with me because of like, my layout and like the way I think about that. Before then, I feel I did a lot of comics that people just weren't that interested in. It's like it just took a while for like all my ideas to sort of like click into place. But like my first book was published probably in 2007, a book called Flower and Fade that came out from NBM. I don't know. I feel like I'm one of those people who has like a lot of like blocks in their head. And it took me like a number of years to like clear those blocks and get to the point where I was able to like put down ideas in my head and have them put down on paper and have other people see them. It's like I feel like all of us struggle, to like I have this idea in my head. I'm trying to express it clearly, but I'm failing, and I think I did that for a long time. But yeah, and then so 2020, like Hydra came out, a book called Planet Paradise came out with Image. I did Humanoids last year. I did a mini series with Mike Mignola in the Hellboy universe called Miss Truesdale and the Fall of Hyperborea. The trade hardcover just came out.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, Synchro's impressed with your description of Hydra.
Hydra's fantastic, by the way. I was obsessed with Hydra when I found it. So you will. I embarrass Jesse. I do that a lot on these things. But I honestly think like when you look at what Jesse does with the grammar of comics, like it is hard for me to make the argument that if you love comics, you will just love what Jesse does just with the form of comics and what it does with panels. It's so interesting. It's so exciting because it's so singular. So yeah, you'll love Hydra. I can't recommend it highly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe you'll like Hydra. You never know. Like, I feel like Hydra is one of those books where if someone doesn't like it, I totally understand. It's a wordless 56-page comic with like 35 panels on a page. It's not for everybody. But I personally am not interested in stuff that's made for everybody.
Trust your instincts, man. Yeah. No,
yeah,
that's good.
It's an idiosyncratic book.
No, but honestly, sci-fi should lend itself to unconventional storytelling and art styles, and that's why I always felt whenever Lemire dips into sci-fi, it's like that's not your classic EC Al Williamson style. And I love, listen, man, I'm an old fart. I love space opera and classic Alex Raymond lines and stuff like that, and I have no problem with any of that stuff. But it should be weird, so I think that's great, and I'm really curious to see how you develop Man's Best in terms of the topography of the world and also the aliens that we're going to see. That's great.
I can't wait for people to see what he does because I'm a big fan.
That's excellent. How has it been, Pornsaak? Post Eisner's, I'm so glad that everybody recognized how great the Good Asian is. And really, man, again, I'm a pulp nerd. I love that stuff. And as I've told you before, and I always give it up to Ram V as well, in taking classic tropes that have unfortunate baggage attached to them, and in the right hands, you can tell a mature story. And it's like, no, man, it's the box that it's in as far as for an intrigue, or in the case of The Good Asian, 1930s Chinatown, and a detective story. It's like you can tell a modern story and throw away all the stereotypes and give us a real account of, no, this is how this culture worked in your case in 1930s Chinatown and stuff. And it's educational, but also it's like it's fresh storytelling. So but yeah, tell me about So yeah, I mean, how have things been? I would imagine you're and again, the Eisner doesn't hurt. You're
the Eisner doesn't hurt. It definitely gets more people wanting to work with me, which is helpful. It helps, honestly, Alex, I feel like Alexander Topinki, who is my artist on it, he typically, although an artist, he typically knows the best way to sum up everything in the fewest amount of words in the team. And I asked him about it, and he's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like the war means that I'm here for a reason. And I was like, that's exactly that. Yeah, I think that war meant. I think that what that award meant to me more than anything else was just like, oh yeah, we're here for a reason. And so yeah, I think that was great. And listen, more people. I think more people got turned on to the book because of it, which I really appreciate. And yeah, it's been, it's not a book on its surface that no one's ever said, this book needs to sell more. We need to work more Asian American history into it. That's not a thing people say. So the fact that people have kind of been drawn to the book and talk about it and all that has been really great. And I think the award kind of helps that. I hope people find the book.
That's beautiful, man. That's great, Jesse. And again, forgive me because I'm not as cognizant of your style and your previous work. Working with Mignola.
Didn't win. Not that good.
I understand, man. I was nominated for an Emmy and I didn't win, but it's like it was pretty cool to get nominated, so I can appreciate that. So, but tell me about working with Mignola in the Hellboy universe. Did you write it as well, or did you? What was Mike's involvement? And tell me.
He wrote it. He had seen some of my stuff and asked me if I wanted to do something in the Hellboy universe, and I'm like, yeah. Mike Mignola is sort of, a legend within the industry, but also just personally, an artist who
I mean, I do steal from everybody, but he's a person. I don't think it's probably immediately apparent in my stuff, but like he's figured out so much. Like it's maybe this is all like weird inside art stuff, but he's like figured out like what details you don't need to draw, and like I feel like I'm a much more liney. You know, try to cover up my mistakes with more lines. Well, he sort of figured out like the minimal, and so like you know to be asked by him to work on a project is you know just a huge honor, but it's also you know kind of intimidating because it's like you know like there are pages where I have to draw Hellboy, and I was like I can't draw Hellboy and send it to Mike Mignola. Like he's gonna be like you did it wrong, like so like there's this intimidation factor that's all on me. Like he is wonderful, kind, nice, totally supportive, like everything. But like he's Mike Mignola. Like, you know, and so like for me there was like this like nervousness. And I gave myself a week to draw the first page because I was like, you're gonna draw it, you're gonna hate it, and you're gonna draw it again, and you're gonna hate it, and draw it. Like, you know, I knew I was gonna have that. But then in the script, it got like to page 5 of the first issue, and it was just like the fight continues, and that was my instructions, and it was like, well, I guess Mike Mignola believes I can do this. like he thinks I can just choreograph and draw a fight. So I guess I trust Mike Mignola. I don't trust myself, but I trust Mike Mignola trusting me, so I can do it. So it was a lot of fun, you know, and it's one of the things that I like working with all writers, like, you know, like all the writers I've worked with is like, I feel like when it's good, it frees your brain up. Like, you know, I've written my own stuff, but then part of my brain is figuring out the plot and, you know, like, will issue 5 come together? And like, you know, right now with Man's Best, it's like, that's not my problem. Like, you know, like that sounds lazy, but what it means is like that's where his energy is going to go. My energy is just like, I'm going to bring as much energy as I can and like much focus and like much passion to the visuals of this and to like, to supporting this story. And I feel like it's like, you get the best. And sort of like, while when it's just one person doing it, it's like, yeah, I'm kind of split. I'm kind of like pulled like this way and that way, and sort of with this, it's like it's kind of liberating. And the same thing with like working with Mike Mignola or Van Jensen, where it's just sort of like, okay, I've got my job, and like, you know, like my job is to sort of execute in a certain the way I see fit, which definitely means adding panels. But yeah.
Well, don't feel bad, because truly, I've talked to guys like Gary Gianni, who, you know, has been a vet for 40 years in the business and stuff. And I know when he's done Hellboy, he's kind of sweated as well. Like, gee, I hope Mike likes it. So,
I mean, yeah, like drawing the other characters is fine, but like to me, Hellboy looks the way Mike Mignola draws, and I don't draw the way Mike Mignola draws, and it's just sort of like, yeah, that character is hard. It's like the hardest character to draw.
yeah,
probably because it's got that quality, like similar to like Mickey Mouse or like Bugs Bunny, where it's like there is a model. And if you leave that model, it doesn't look like Mickey Mouse. It looks like somebody trying to draw Mickey Mouse, but not Mickey Mouse. And I feel like Mignola's lines have this, like, I'm sounding so reverential, like have this sort of quality about them where it's like, yeah, that's somebody trying to draw a Hellboy. But Mike Mignola's drawing, real drawing of Hellboy.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's got to look like Hellboy, because he is the fish out of water in every story that he shows up in, and he's surrounded by a traditional aesthetic. So he does need to look like Hellboy and be different. You know, it's weird, on a tangent, as Universal continues to fail with their new attempts at the classic 30s and 40s monsters. And I don't know if it's an actor's appearance, a resemblance rights issue. But every time a new filmmaker is like, well, this is Frankenstein and this is Dracula. And it's like, what sells, and because the retro photographs and stills of those original movies, it's like, no, man, it's got to look like that Jack Pierce original makeup. If you're not able to use the Karloff look, use the Glenn Strange look, the guy that played him in the 40s, because that's what the Frankenstein monster looks like to us. And like De Niro, when De Niro did Frankenstein, it's like, I get it, but it's like, you're taking me out of the story because it doesn't look like Frankenstein. What were you going to say, Pornsack?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, I'm a huge fan of what James Tynion and Martin Simmons did in the Dracula Universal comic that Skybound just put out, and it's exactly that. Like, it looks like the type, but they found ways to modernize that look without making it look quiche, without making it look like retro. There is a modernity, there's an edge to it, while still kind of keeping that classic look.
And I'm loving what Kelly Jones and Wagner are doing with Dracula as well. And, they're going several hundred years before the Lugosi look and everything. And they're really getting into the Vlad the Impaler look, Yeah,
I can't wait to read that.
I know it's going to be great. Now, I want you guys to know, because Synchro has been great in terms of his comments, but there are a bunch of other people that are watching. It's just Synchro's the one who has the good questions. But he has a question for you, Prince, about the good Asian. The protagonist, Edison, has a scar on his face during most of the narrative. He then essentially gets a new face. What was the significance there? Good question.
For me, I wanted him. It was a little bit of his. He was kind of like born anew after that. Like, one of the things that happens in that story, for anyone who's read the story, if not, then forgive me, spoilers. But he kind of has he fails for all intents and purposes for what the thing that he sets out to do, and sort of in his failure, he actually finds a way to get reborn. And so for me, him starting off with a new face is a way to kind of show the fact that, like, he's kind of left his old life behind. He's sort of unblemished, moving on to this new life, and who knows what it will be. But he's now a new person who has the option of moving away from the scars and the sins of his past. And I think part of the story of Edison Hart is that whether or not he actually will.
I love it. No, man, and again, I think it's a classic noir trope. Think of, I think it was Dark Victory, the one where Bogart's got the bandages on his face.
Dark Passage.
Dark Passage. Thank you, buddy. There you go, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Here, Synchro says, I'm sorry, Jesse, I didn't mean to.
Besides to not get the scars put back.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
But
Thank you. So there you go. I'm still bragging to my students tomorrow about getting asked another question. That's great. I'm glad, man. No, that's great. No, you're asking a question, Synchro. I appreciate it. And everyone else that's watching, hey, chime in. You got a question for Jesse or Pornsack? What are you guys watching these days? I mean, there's so much content out there.
Yeah, what am I watching right now? I'm watching a bunch of pilots right now, so I can't wait to start Expats, Patriots on Amazon. I really want to start the new, the latest season of True Detective. I really want to start that, and I've been hearing really good things about Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So those are like the top of my to watch list right now.
Yeah, I got to check out Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I mean, every time I jump on Amazon, I see the trailers for it. I have Apple, and in the spy genre, Slow Horses is so great.
I really love the third season's up, and I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I love the first two seasons of Slow Horses. Yeah. And
also, again, we're talking sci-fi. For All Mankind. I don't know if you guys are watching that at all on Apple.
I haven't had a chance to jump on that. I've heard good things about Silo too, and I haven't had a chance to watch Silo yet.
Yeah, I have as well. Yeah, For All Man. Again, guys, you'll forgive me, but I was, and it's so funny. We're talking on the day that the unmanned vehicle landed on the moon, and it's so great. And I was an Apollo kid. What's that? Say it again, please.
Oh no, we were just talking about it over dinner.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's great. Thank God. And really, as annoying as Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are, and these other companies, I'm glad that space is alive and well and happening again, because it bummed me out when they stopped the funding in the 70s. And the shuttle, I appreciated the shuttle, but it's not the same, man. I mean, there was really just this
Reading about it.
exploration in Apollo that went away, and unfortunately, it didn't help that the shuttle had that airplane look about it, but it just kind of became mundane in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really like reading about like the Apollo missions and just like once it was done and once it was clear the USSR was not going to do it, like just like the governmental interest just is like I think there were supposed to be 20 missions, but they only did 18. Like it was less and less like priority. Is always sort of,
and all the social problems of the early 70s. I mean, I understood the argument against it of, hey, spend the money down here, but it was a shame because it really did bring technology and so many interesting discoveries. And and again, that's why I love For All Mankind, because it's like, what if it never ended, and the race against the Soviets, and it really it just is interesting, this alternate history. So I'm a sucker for anything like that.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I've been thinking about that specifically for this book, is what for Man's Best as well. Specifically, I'm gonna butcher it, but like sort of like JFK's like speech of like why we go to space, right? It's like it's about putting the best of our abilities, because we put the best of our abilities, we will become something better. And just that spirit that just seems to have gone away, that and that we just that's what going to the moon meant. It meant it was the next thing we needed to conquer because we needed to be the next best version of ourselves. And I miss that more than anything. That aspiration that it feels like it's kind of gone from society.
Yeah, and it was kind of a unifying thing. And again, from my 5-year-old perspective when it was happening, but it seemed like we could all rally around that and be excited about it and everything. So, how many years in the future would you say Man's Best is supposed to be?
That's a good question. I don't know. It is X years into the future. I mean, I think it depends. It honestly depends how optimistically you want to view society. Because in my eyes, the society that talk about Hernandez isn't that much farther from where we are right now. So part of it is that it is an optimistic look that we have not gotten worse in the amount of time it takes us to get to create all that technology. And that in everything that is optimistic about that book, that might be the most optimistic, and probably that might require the biggest suspension of disbelief. I think there was an interview that asked just like, what happened in the world to make it get that way? I'm just like, I don't know. Look at, like, turn on the news. That's what happened to the world to make it get that way. I don't know. I think it's I think it's that classic sci-fi trope, The Day After Tomorrow. Like, I think that is when sort of the book takes place. But yeah, no, it's meant to have resonance to where we are right now. And we just discovered a way to send really big things into space in the meantime.
The fact that there are service animals accompanying the astronauts and stuff, do we get into the reasons why these astronauts need these service animals?
Yes and no. I think the most of it we get into is in sort of the first issue. And I think it really is, and we don't spell it out, but it's sort of implied there that it's just like they are there for emotional support. They are there because, they have their work is depressing, and it's just nice to have something to alleviate and just to be entertained by, and that's what these animals do.
I would love it if at the space station or something there was an ability and a reason to have animals up there and stuff. And I
think a lot about like what Scott Bakula's dog was doing in the Enterprise. Like, he didn't have a practical purpose. He was just there because Scott Bakula really wanted his dog to be in space with him, and that's
I'm with you, man. I see we're back. As promised, at the 50-minute mark, we're back talking about Star Trek. All right, here's another thing that pisses me off about Star Trek. No, not at all. What are some of your favorite sci-fi things, Jesse? We heard Pornsaak rattle off a bunch of artists, or rather authors, that he loves.
Oh, I love so much.
Good.
I think 2001 is kind of a big one for me. That's one of the ones where it's like if it's ever on, I'm gonna watch it. It just like immediately sucks me in. Solaris, like the original Solaris.
Solaris. Both, even the Clooney one. I mean, I love the Russian one, but even the Clooney one is decent.
And then with this, I feel like this is leaning. I don't know, not so much hard sci-fi. So like, of course I like Star Wars and stuff, and
Sure.
within comics, sort of that Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon sort of like aesthetic. Like you mentioned Alex Raymond earlier, like, and I feel like that's sort of, especially with this, something I sort of touched on, because it is this sort of like optimistic, exploratory sort of view. And so those are ones I like. I think Asimov, read a lot of Heinlein. I read a lot of. I'm gonna blank on the name. The Murderbot series is a recent one. I forget the writer's name right now, but like I think the first one's called Code Red. But it's from the perspective of a robot. And for me, anything with a robot that's kind of sad,
you're in.
I'm like, yeah, like, so like Frankenstein you mentioned is kind of like the first sad robot, like Edward Scissorhands is another one where it's like, yeah, he's not really a robot, but he's a robot. And sort of those sorts of stories. So yeah, like Ray Bradbury is another one.
Did you guys, all right, two movies, one from the 80s and one from only a couple of years ago, but mentioning 2001. First, what did you guys ever see 2010, and what did you think of it?
Never saw it. I never saw it. Okay. Yeah.
All right. I like it. It's very straightforward compared to 2001, where, as you guys...
is more the driving force on that one, right?
Say it again. I didn't quite hear you.
Arthur C. Clarke, the author,
yes,
who wrote 2001 with Stanley Kubrick, but it seems like Stanley Kubrick was pretty much in control. But 2010 is more Arthur C. Clarke, right?
Yeah, but also it was very straightforward. Like, excuse me, when 2001 came out, and for decades later, so many articles, so many papers trying to figure out, especially like the weird stuff that Dave Bowman goes through before the very end of the movie, and that kaleidoscope kind of thing, and so many other things in the movie. What does this mean? What does that mean? Whereas, and I love 2010. It's a great 80s sci-fi movie, but it is very, this means this means that. There is no ambiguity. This is what's going on. And it's fine. It's Peter Hymas, Hymas was the director. And I know he was in a lot of contact with Clarke, so maybe it held more to Clarke's vision. I never read 3001, but then did you guys watch the Brad Pitt movie Ad Astra?
I never did. That was one of those movies that, like, in the way those movies go, like, there's all this excitement, and all of a sudden, like, all the buzz like turns in the other way. And then I was like, oh, maybe nobody wants to watch this after all. Maybe I won't go to the theaters to sort of watch this.
Well, I might be in the minority because what's that?
Did you like Ad Astra?
I did, and it's funny because Brian Bendis and Sam Humphries made fun of me, and they're like, "Oh my god, it was boring as hell," and I thought it was intense. And even from the trailers, you had literally guys in moon buggies shooting laser guns at each other. Or
you had a great scene. I remember watching that trailer multiple times. That scene is fantastic. Yeah,
and also you're on one spaceship, and there's like a rabid space monkey on the thing. So those things were great. But what I loved about it was kind of a reverse mirror image of 2001, because all the unknowns that we were still dealing with pre-Apollo landing on the moon were all there in the original movie. And this, because say it's 50 years from now, there's a moon base. There are scenes where you see Brad Pitt in a very conventional moon base that essentially looks like an airport, any airport.
Hmm.
And literally, he's like walking in a hall, like he's on an escalator, and it could be in a mall or any airport, and he's walking by and he sees a Subway franchise and a DHL store as he's walking by. And I love that about it because eventually this stuff does, like I was saying about the space shuttle earlier, this stuff does become mundane. And so I appreciated that kind of subtle thing that Mangold put in the movie.
You had me at boring. Like if somebody describes a sci-fi movie as slow and boring, I'm like, I'll probably like it. Like 2001, it is not a romp in any way. Like Solaris.
Yeah, Solaris is definitely not a romp.
It is
Strap in. Yeah.
And it doesn't move very fast, and I love it. Like it is perfection.
No, I get it, guys, and I feel the same way. I worry that MTV and videos, especially me growing up, like it really screwed with our attention span. And I always compare Jennifer Garner's spy show Alias to the original Mission Impossible. And my God, and I got to meet Phil Morris, Jackie Childs from Seinfeld, and his dad Greg Morris was the tech guy in the original Mission Impossible.
Oh, wow, nice.
And Greg Morris's character, his name was Barney. And I told Phil, I'm like, man, your dad is hunched over a safe trying to crack a safe for like 20 minutes on that show. And Jennifer Garner, it's like, dink, dink, dink. Okay, it's open. And now I'm in a hot dress and deflected. I'm about to have a fight scene. And it's, oh my God, it's like, one is timed by a stopwatch. Mission Impossible is timed by an hourglass. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
So, that's funny here. Huff Dealey. The name's Lonergan. Jesse Lonergan. He's doing. he's quoted the Sting. You're gonna remember that name or get yourself a new game. You follow the great Robert Shaw in the Sting. Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. Synchro has a sci-fi movie reference for us. A weird space film recommendation.
Oh, I need to see that. My friends love High Life.
I'm gonna have to check out the trailer. I don't know it. I absolutely would love it. I also want to see ISS, the suspense movie on the space station that just came out in the last couple of months.
Yeah. I heard about that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. Well, guys, honestly, this is great. And again, I'm keeping you from Barcom, but we'll remind everybody that Man's Best is a great series from Boom. When does it debut? Just a couple weeks, right?
Yeah. March 20th, it comes out. FOC is this Monday, so if people want it, tell their stores. Monday's the cutoff to get more copies, and yeah.
Well, and 5 issues, 6 issues? Forgive me.
5 issues.
Excellent. Very cool. And all right, I guess Synchro might be a Chicago guy. He says he'd love to see you guys at C2E2.
He's gonna be
that's great, Jesse. Oh man, we'll have to make sure we see each other, man.
Yeah, definitely. I love Chicago. I lived there for a few years. But yeah, I'll be at C2E2.
Terrific. Oh, that's great to hear, man. That's funny. And Huff says, he had to pull the Robert Shaw line from the Sting. Absolutely, man. And hey, man, he's a fan. He loved Hedra, Faster.
Hey.
All right.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Super indie.
Yeah. Faster's a great book.
That's outstanding. That's great. No, boy, seriously, pleasure. And Pornsaak, I'm really glad you tapped me about this. Let me know about future things. I'm always happy to have you guys back. And great to get to know you here. All right, one more comment. Couple comments from Comic Chic. He says Hedra is epic.
Yes, it is.
And I got the Man's Best Ash Can. Excited for the series. Very cool. You guys
just came out this week. Yesterday. So you can check that out. And orders are due Monday.
Yeah. How are you distributing the Ash Can?
It's through stores. I think you can order it just like a regular comic, and they can buy it like a regular comic. These are exactly the kind of things I am horrible at. So I don't think I'm wrong about what I just said. Yeah. I think that is all true. I have a tendency to be wrong about these things.
It was originally it was just going to be an Ashcan for this, I think, and
Is
then
that
they
what
were
it
like open to orders up
Yeah.
for it. So that's a lot of Boom doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
You know, we just make this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
That's great though, man. No,
It's half of the book, as well as some
Yeah.
like developmental sketches
Yeah.
that Jesse did, which is also what makes it fun.
that's terrific. No, that's great. Well, seriously, guys, have a good weekend at Comics Pro.
Thank
I
you.
hope you get more good feedback for Man's Best. And yeah, Jesse, I'll see you at C2E2 and Portsaak.
Thanks for-
I don't know when I'm going to be on the West Coast. I won't be in
Yeah,
San Diego.
yeah. We'll see when I leave. When the next time I leave LA will be. But yeah. But seriously, thank you for having us. It's
Yeah.
always awesome talking to you.
It's always a pleasure, man. And Jesse, great to get to know you a little bit. So this was great, and we'll do it more in another interview. Thanks everybody for watching. I was telling Pornsaak off the air tomorrow at 2:00 Eastern. Howard Chaykin joining us because, man, it's taken forever, but finally we get the finish of Times Squared. And I remember buying those first couple issues over the years in the 80s and 90s, and thank God Howard was able to finally finish his story. The omnibus is out, and we'll be discussing it on Word Balloon tomorrow afternoon, so I hope you'll join us. And then also tomorrow night, I'm going to do more TV and film talk with Franco from Art and Franco and Tiny Titans, and my buddy Mitch from Terrificon, and hopefully my buddy Wayne from Ottawa, and we'll all do our roundtable of what we've been watching. Quantum Leap wrapped up its season earlier this week, and I thought it was another great season. Among the subjects, and certainly Madam Web will come up. I haven't seen it. Not even Sydney Sweeney's Beauty to get to watch this.
I've heard a lot.
Yeah, we've all heard a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oops. What are you gonna do? Just like Morbius, man. It's like missed opportunity. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It's easy to armchair critique. I'll admit that. So.
Okay.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Until next time, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.